Hit me with that first kiss, baby. Ooh. I bet nothing feels. Now, I don't know. I've been making out with people since I was 8 years old. Sweet. 8. Okay, not 8. 8th grade. Sorry. Oh, Corey Blagden was my first makeout. It was a very big deal in middle school. Okay, welcome in. I'm Sarah. You're at TSFS. Look, on Wednesdays, we do a recap of, I think right now, the hottest, the most compelling, the wackiest reality show that is on television. It's Welcome to Plathville. Season 7, Episode 9, The First Kiss. That's what it was titled. Oh my God, how old were you when you had your first? And I'm talking like not a peck. Like I'm talking a makeout. Shout out to Corey Blagden. Anyhow, we had another epic night of a show. Okay, we are all setting up for the big moment. Although I feel like I'm going to be let down if you're following this show, or maybe you're new to the whole thing. In season 7, the whole crescendo of this season is supposed to be an epic fight between Isaac and Micah over Veronica, who we all see is she disrespectful. Okay, she a disrespectful wreck. She in it for the drama, the trouble, and there is no way anyone with half a brain, which I think Micah has, but I don't know, that's debatable, would ever allow this woman at this point at a wedding. Okay, and the day of the wedding, because this whole episode last night is of the wedding. And the whole time, all the confessionals, Mike is like, well, I love Veronica, but I know she's probably going to cause major trouble at the wedding. So you're going to bring her anyway? Here's what I will say, and then I'm going to get into like scene by scene what went down last night. And the fight between, there's a lot of tea. There's just so much gossip going on too online with this family, with Veronica and Olivia. They are now literally beefing on my TikTok over Charlie Kirk. I'll get into that at the end of this show, so stick around. I'll tell you about that. Okay, but last night's episode, the teaser is setting up for this big fight where Micah has his nose broken, his nostril split, almost like a nostril ripped off by Isaac. But I feel like we're going to be a bit disappointed because the fight was not filmed. It happened after the wedding. Cameras went down. And then we're going to see cameras pick back up and the aftermath of what happened. All right. But I feel like maybe there's been so much. And look, I mean, I contributed to it. There's been so much discussion about, this nose breaking. Will he ever model again? And by the way, pictures are up. He's hot. He's still going to model. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be as bad as I think we all had thought it had been for months, okay? But we opened last night's episode. It's the morning of the wedding. We find out that Amber is doing Lydia's makeup. Now, is Amber not, I don't even know if we should put this responsibility on a 17-year-old, but this season is being carried by Amber, Veronica, and Lydia and Zach. Amber is, she's the peacemaker. She the voice of reason. Now she's a makeup artist. Last night we find out Lydia did not want to hire a makeup artist because she wants to look herself. She wants to look natural and she wants Zach to recognize her. And by the way, they didn't practice, I always thought it was bad luck to see the bride in her wedding dress and like before the wedding, right? My husband, he stayed the night before the wedding. He stayed with his brothers. They all got ready. And the first time he saw me was in my wedding dress coming down the aisle, right? Isn't that the way you're supposed to do it? Not them. Their asses woke up. Now, look, they'll probably out-marry all of us. Some of you all listening to this podcast been married 20, 25 years. I've been married 6 with my man 12. These two, they'll probably be doing an anniversary show 60 years, these two bitches. So what do I know? But they got up in the morning, they saw each other first thing and prayed. They need a lot of prayer with this family. They need a lot of prayer. And Amber's my favorite by far because this is like what the producers do with this poor girl is they use her for everything. Like she's the peacemaker. She calms down Veronica, but she's also the shit stirrer. If you watch closely last night in the episode, Amber, one of the younger daughters, she's like, Lydia's a beautiful bride, but she hardly got any sleep last night. And you're like, okay, because why? Well, she's worried about the wedding, all the details, what's going down. Oh, and by the way, we find out, not filmed. This was also strange to me. Why were cameras not up for this? And maybe Lydia refused. The morning of the wedding, Amber kind of foreshadows like, well, it was a rough night. Some shit happened. What happened was we find out, and I thought the producers did a brilliant job of editing this back and forth between Ethan, Kim, little Isaac, Lydia. But the family reveals that the night before the wedding, Ethan, Isaac, and Kim essentially try to confront Lydia. Okay. They have a conversation with her. They want to have a conversation about Zach having red flags, right? Being controlling, usurping, lazy. How's he going to provide for you, sweetie? He doesn't want to get off the couch. You think that man going to work 50 hours a week? Huh? How? You better hope the Lordeth will provideth because you fucked. Okay. So anyhow, they go back and forth. Brilliant. Like Kim's talking, Ethan's talking, da, da, da. So they try to confront Lydia about this, essentially telling her, don't marry this guy, pump the brakes. Zach and Lydia show up to the house and they say, hey, Zach, we need a few minutes with our sister. Can you wait outside? So he does that. He honors that for about 20 minutes. And Lydia is like, Ethan says, we wanted to talk to her. We talked to her. And Lydia's like, bottom line is this. Ethan still can't get over. He thinks he's gay. Okay. And they pop back to Ethan and Ethan goes, I'm going to just say it. I think he's gay. Now, I don't have a problem with anybody gay. I'm going to say it again. I don't mind gay people, but I hope they have great sex, but I'm worried. All right. Well, why don't you worry your little pantalones less? Because what are you going to do at this point? She is like blinded by this man, okay? And hopefully it's great and they're having the hottest sex of their lives. She's come on her Instagram. She defends him all the time. And she says she and Zach are having, the wildest sex you've ever laid your eyes on. So it basically goes downhill from there, okay? Lydia is pretty angry, I think, but she's not that type, to be explosive. And Ethan says he doesn't pass judgment on anyone who's gay. He says that he hopes that they have many, many years of passionate lovemaking. Then we pop over to Veronica. Okay, so everybody is getting ready for the wedding. We see the entire wedding last night. Veronica and Micah are getting ready. We know they've come up for the event. So far, things have gone relatively well. It's going to go downhill. Okay. Veronica is curling Micah's hair. And these guys are questioning Zach's sexuality. Okay. And Micah says, again, every confessional Micah does. He says, well, I love her, but I'm going to predict there's going to be an issue, he says. And, she looks for dirt and water so she can create mud. If that's how you feel about your girl, she probably shouldn't be at the wedding. Veronica and Micah are driving to the wedding at this point in his truck, and it starts out great. Like Veronica says, with Moriah, she feels empathy. She thinks Moriah was going through so much. She's forgiven Moriah, but she's not going to forgive Tegan the slut. Veronica, girl, you got to tamper it down, babe. And Micah is exhausted in the confessionals, and there's like a level of panic. He's like, he's like, Veronica, you can't call her a slut. You don't know her. She doesn't have an OnlyFans. She says she doesn't have an OnlyFans. Like, stop. And Micah does say, and Veronica says, okay, what would you do if your family confronted you and said they shouldn't be with me? Because basically Veronica is asking Micah, what do they think is going to happen if the priest or the guy marrying them says, does anyone object? And Micah believes that Ethan and Isaac are going to stand up and are going to object. And then Veronica goes, yeah, what would you do if someone did that about us? And he has no answer. He's like, that's a tough one. Yeah, because you don't want to be with her. Micah definitely says last night he thinks that there's someone better out there for Lydia than Zach, but Lydia has made up her mind. Then we go and we pop back to Zach because everybody's beginning to come to the wedding and Zach is going to start getting ready. And Zach confesses that he is absolutely furious and that damage was done the night before their wedding by Kim, by Ethan, by Isaac, and this conversation that he was left out of. Okay. And at one point, we pop back to Isaac and Ethan, and they say, Zach stormed in after 20 minutes and is like, why can't I be a part of this conversation the night before my wedding? And the guys are kind of making fun of him, like, okay, well, like you don't have to be a part of everything. They're basically like, yeah, they don't really have anything good to continue to say about poor Zach. And Zach is like mad. Zach's like, we are looking for an apology. Damage has been done and we want an apology. Interesting. Don't you want to know what the truth is about their relationship? Now, I know they've done podcasts, they've been out on their social media, that they've confronted their family about this, but don't you want to know the nitty gritty? All right, we show up to the wedding. Everybody is coming in. Veronica says that she's wearing her Frozen dress like the Disney film. And we see kind of all the, I guess, drama that's going to start to go down. Ethan arrives, Tegan arrives, Kaylin, Isaac. And we also see at this time that Zach and Lydia do a beautiful first look. Okay, so they do this gorgeous first look at each other where he kind of comes up behind her. She's looking out into the fences. He comes up behind her. He taps, is it him standing there? I can't remember. I think it's him. Yeah, they surprise him. So he's standing there at the field. She walks up behind him, taps his shoulder. He turns around, sees her for the first time. And it was beautiful. He cries. They have this really sweet moment. His voice gets really high. He's like, oh my God. That wasn't the most masculine move. However, he was very sweet. And then he starts stepping all over her train, which is hysterical, very straight guy. And, and she's like, oh, you're on my train, on my train, on my train. So that was kind of comical. And, we just see like one thing after another, right? Veronica, it's just going downhill. Even though Kim comes over, greets Veronica, Kim seems to be in a great mood. Veronica hates the seating arrangement because she's been seated with Tegan and Ethan, and it starts in the house. This is where the drama fires up. We don't see it on camera, but they're all mic'd up. And Ethan says to Veronica, hey, I heard you said that Tegan has an OnlyFans. She doesn't, And Veronica says something like, I heard she fucking does. He's like, fuck off. She's like, fuck you. Anyway, they go back and forth on mic, telling each other to F themselves. Well, meanwhile, and this is like the producers like messing with this entire family. Meanwhile, while Ethan and Veronica are having this heated exchange inside right before the wedding, Zach and Lydia, poor things, are out in the field praying for God and their family and acceptance and love and protection. You got to say a lot of things. Now, two people that are there that seem quite happy are Bill and Sandy Wise. Finally, we see Zach's parents. Now, I truthfully want to know how Zach's parents, what did they think of this whole thing? What do they think of this family? Is the drama trumped up so they're like not going to be on camera because they're like, actually, everybody gets along fine? Why haven't we heard from Bill and Sandy Wise? I'd like to know their take. The wedding procession comes in. Ethan walks Kim in, by the way, and what a savage move. Did you see it? I actually have to issue a correction, 2 corrections. Ethan walks Kim down the aisle. She sits next to Ken. Kenny is there. Oh, wait a minute. We started out this season, she don't sleep with Ken. Ken ain't sexual. There's now a rumor on the internet that they're very much together. But because of the divorce, because of, the toll that reality television takes on people, the two of them are not going public anymore with their relationship. That's one of the rumors. The other rumor is they are just friends. Kim has had different profiles, dating profiles, single profile, says she's single on Facebook. So I don't know but they looked awfully cozy. The second correction is I had always said that the finale of this show was going to be the wedding. That was episode 9. We still have 4 episodes left, right? 10, 11, 12, 13, 4 episodes to go. So I was wrong about that. Okay. Then, so Zach walks down the aisle. He looks great. Looks great in his suit. Looks nice. He's so excited. And then Olivia, I keep saying Olivia. And then because Olivia and Veronica, the T is on my mind. But then Ethan drives in with that Model T car all over hell and high water. I mean, that man loves to peel out on a grass lawn. And he's got Lydia and Barry in the car. And the producers, they're like, and he drives kind of past the altar, and then he comes back, and Zach's like, "Oh, great, great, the Model T." There you go. So eventually, we see Lydia and Barry get out of the car. Barry, walks her down the aisle, and Zach is absolutely giddy, bending over, tee-heeing. And she lets us know that her feeling of walking down the aisle is one of complete peace. She tells producers she's, absolutely at peace. She feels so good, so calm seeing him. All of her nerves are settled. So we start the ceremony, we start their vows, and they begin to sing. They sing like a church song, like they're praying, they're singing. Veronica's laughing. I didn't love that. I didn't love it. Look, to each their own. When people have different traditions at their wedding, I think it's great. By the way, have you ever seen a group of people so unhappy at a wedding? I mean, weddings and funerals, I always cry, I clap, I cheer. There's funny moments usually at a good wedding, at a good funeral. They pan to that audience. I'm talking Teague, Caitlin, what you got not to smile about, sis? Like you with Isaac, like you driving around in a truck and then a field in like some sort of tractor. You can't crack a smile for these guys. The faces on these people, they look so miserable being there. And interestingly enough, the pastor removes the line, does anyone object to these two? So therefore, Ethan and Isaac cannot stand up. They can't say anything. And so they go kiss the bride. He does a heck of a dip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. He dips her, baby. And the dip is hard to do. The dip is always risky. I didn't do that at my wedding. Did you? I didn't do the dip at my wedding because usually I feel like it's just like everybody's nervous. Everybody's running on fumes. They're tired. Usually the groom's had a couple of drinks before he hits the altar. So I did not want Schman to dip me. Like, let's just have like a nice kiss and a makeout. Honey, he dips her low, but he catches her. It was beautiful. The dip is hard to pull off. And it was gorgeous. They dip and they kiss for the very first time. And they make it count. And then they pan to the audience. Tegan looks miserable. Ethan, Kayla, they don't want to watch him kiss. Lord, are you guys that prudish? Come on. Like, celebrate these two. They've been holding out for how long? Months? Like, you ought to be cheering them on. Tongue, tongue, tongue. Have you guys ever bit lips while you're making out? Like, try that. I mean, I would have been giving them tips, like trying to egg them on. These two have never like had a makeout. They never sucked face in all the time they've known each other. Not interested. The crowd is miserable. Then we kind of go to this weird confessional thing. It's like a beautiful like flower background and step and repeat where we're going to kind of get like camera advice for the couple, right? But what's interesting is we only get Barry and Kim and Micah. Now, maybe that's because Isaac and Ethan, like maybe nobody wanted to wish them well. But Barry and Kim stand there, very generic advice. And, you can tell Barry and Kim want to kill one another. And ironically, it's so funny, right? Because they're embroiled in this like awful divorce, but they're standing there. Kim's like, yeah, listen to each other. That'd be helpful. I feel like they struggled so hard in that moment. Marriage advice. Prenup, good lawyer. Okay, too late for that. What? Okay. So then Tegan and Caitlin say, you know what? We're going to try to talk to Veronica. Okay. It's weird. It's awkward. Veronica's clearly here with Micah. And we're going to try to talk to her. My girl, Veronica. Why are we doing this, girl? very immature. She walks away. She won't talk to them. And to me, I'm like, Veronica, if you're going to put up this big confrontation, eye for an eye, like you ought to confront. To me, that's why I feel like you know that she made up the OnlyFans thing. So Tegan and Caitlin try to go over to her, I think a couple times actually, and she walks away. She's going to go feed the animals. Micah and Moriah, then of course, like at this point, it's like, okay, Micah, like I just don't even understand. Again, I got to stop saying that because we're going to have Veronica for this entire season, and she has kept this season juicy and engaging. But anybody with half a brain would not have her at the wedding. And Moriah decides she's going to go over to Veronica where she's feeding the animals and talk to her. Micah doesn't trust what Veronica will say or do to Moriah. So he decides he's going to go over with Moriah to make sure she's okay. And Moriah tries to apologize again. Veronica just like really isn't having it. And she's like, I needed you last year. I was in such a deep funk. And Moriah tries to say to her, like, I have such a fear and anxiety of confrontation. Now, look, as an adult, should you have that? No. But tons of people do. We know so many people, adults, they don't want to do any confrontation. It's very hard, right? So I felt like Moriah tried to be vulnerable, tried to open up, and Veronica really wasn't interested. Didn't acknowledge the letter that Moriah had. And look, we all know I think Moriah's weird. Moriah has gone out of her way to cause trouble in Ethan and Olivia's marriage. We know that for a fact. And tried to cause some trouble between Veronica and Micah. But they all realize that. So it's like, what power does Moriah have? And quite honestly, she looks like a mess. You know what I mean? She's living like Morticia Adams. She's run away to Montana with, what's the dog's name there? Blackjack? I mean, we in trouble. This girl needs some empathy. But it's such a weird confrontation because while they're trying to make amends, right? Micah's like, good luck. Veronica literally said she wished that Moriah was dead and killed by the cartel. I don't even know why they're talking. It's like, okay, what? And like, did you all notice how he got that line in? Like, he wants people to know she's like, Veronica's a shitty person. He's like, mm-hmm. And let me just remind the audience here. She said she wanted Moriah killed by the cartels. Oh, okay, well, that's hard to come back from. That's hard to come back from. And, then of course the producers kind of throw Veronica under the bus, which in my opinion, they have the whole season, probably because before the season even started, she outed them, released recordings, gave away secrets, basically has gone against them, right? So Veronica says, that the Plath family is not friendly to her when she's having this conversation with Moriah. They've iced her out. They're not friendly to her. And then boom, producers roll tape of Kim just like an hour ago giving her a hug, welcoming her in, Tegan trying to say hi to her, Amber trying to say hi to her, and Veronica like not having it. So anyhow, Moriah kind of stands there, tries to give it her best. And again, I get Veronica's frustration. There is a level of such like immaturity and I think disconnect with Moriah. Like clearly there's a kid that's been so sheltered and is now having some mental health issues. So she doesn't know how to, I feel like, really interact like we all normally would. So I get there's a level of frustration. However, it was just such a weird, like, Veronica can't really forget, can't forgive. I mean, it's just bizarre. So, and Veronica being her own worst enemy, right? So then the producers go, well, how do you think that went, Moriah? Do you see yourself ever being friends with Veronica? And she's like, no, honestly. And it's like, Moriah like changed. She's like, no, there's nothing that bitch. But like, she doesn't say bitch, but she's like, there's nothing she could say to me for us to like ever reconcile. Like, it ain't happening. And I'm like, damn, girl, like, why didn't you bring that heat when you were talking to her? You should have brought that same thing. Like, girl, you know what? You wishing me dead by the cartels. You think now I'm going to come to you with a vulnerable apology? What about all those good times I was there for you? Oof. Moriah, like, almost has it in her, but not quite. But she tells those producers, she said, I ain't never talking to that bitch again. Like, I'm done. I'm like, oh. Okay, we need that heat. Where's that smoke? Oh, then it goes from bad to worse. We start wrapping up the episode, and Veronica again calls Tegan a slut in earshot of Isaac. She's at she's still feeding the animals. She calls Micah over when they're walking over and wants to know why Micah was near Tegan, that slut. It's like, oh damn. And for what, of course, Isaac is like, what is he, 19? So, he's like young, dumb, full of, whatever. So he's like already ready to beat up Micah, which he ends up doing. And that's it. That's how the episode ends. And we see the preview, and Veronica, it's the after party, right? We're celebrating, and Veronica's like, I don't want to participate in what I describe as hillbilly activities, labeling them hillbillies. The teaser is crazy. It talks about her, her Veronica leaving, going home while Micah and the crew party that night. And then she wakes up in the middle of the night looking for Micah, tracks him by, you know, your iPhone. You know how you can find my iPhone. He's at a hospital. He's getting stitched up. He's been in a fight. And then the next day they have a confrontation. So this is good because this part I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that Veronica came back into the fold one more time for a confrontation. Like, this is going to be crazy. I can't wait to see what goes down these last 4 episodes. I'm just thinking, I don't know. I'm beginning to think that the fight and the nose, especially seeing the new photos of Micah recently in Long Island, that the nose isn't that bad. I'm just going to say. And I'm thinking that the lead up to the fight isn't going to be all that riveting. All right. I had teased that Veronica and Olivia are going at it on my TikTok in the comments over Charlie Kirk. They are. So obviously the murder of Charlie Kirk has a lot of people with a lot of feelings. Olivia, shortly after Charlie Kirk passed, Veronica had put up, I didn't see it, I don't know specifically, but basically like honoring Charlie, right? And Olivia's like, I want to make a video and clarify that Veronica and I are not friends. And the straw for me too, one of the catalysts was her putting up a video sympathizing for someone who, this is like Olivia's words, anti-trans, anti-gay, race things. I haven't watched anything of Charlie Kirk's. I don't want to get into it. I truly have not listened to one thing he's done. So, but of course I'm like, no one should ever be murdered. I mean, that's crazy. We need dialogue in this. Like, nobody has to agree with you. Okay, so this has sparked the two of them. You all got to go to my TikTok immediately. I put up this video talking about how they're no longer friends, and the two of them have gone back and forth in the comments non-freaking stop. Okay. Someone kicks it off. This Kim Wells 66 writes, Olivia makes Veronica look like an angel. Veronica writes, she promotes hate and death to people who don't align with her. Okay. Then we go on. And Veronica calls Olivia a blind follower. Olivia writes back. She joins the chat to Veronica. LOL. Says the woman who called me a narcissist then says, sorry, you're actually lovely. I was just brainwashed and misled to think that about someone I had never met. Now who's the follower? Oh boy, we go on from there. Veronica says, also, Olivia's salty. I didn't respond to her last 5 texts. I have receipts. Olivia writes, okay, post the text. Veronica goes, let me refresh your memory. Okay, so she shows 5 texts. Are they going through with this? What's the follow-up? I haven't taken any calls, just emails. So the network let me out of my contract. This is what Olivia writes. So the network let her kind of out of her contract with some crazy stipulations. So I guess that's technically broken for me. I talked to a lawyer about trying to negotiate some of the terms, and he basically told me I don't have a chance and I have to accept it. What is your lawyer saying? Anyhow, they do a text exchange, but the last 5 texts, Veronica doesn't respond to. Veronica goes on. Olivia promoted and celebrated death. That's a wildly disturbed woman. Okay. Don't worry. Olivia is still in the chats. Veronica goes on to say, Charlie Kirk was a friend of mine, and she had to ride some relevancy to push her sick political agenda. That's what she writes. Then Olivia Plath goes, Sarah Fraser reading these comments, popcorn and eye roll. Then they go on to say, okay, there was one more. Oh, did it get deleted? It was about the two of them teaming up to potentially sue the network, which didn't happen. Oh my God, where is it? There's one more. But anyway, these comments are up. These two are still going at it. And they talked about relevancy, suing the network. Oh my God, where is it? Oh, okay. Veronica says, truly, Olivia, she jumped to mass conclusions like a sheep. Olivia goes, so last week I was strong and wise enough of a woman that you wanted me to join you in suing the TLC network. This week, I'm just a sheep. I tried to be kind to you and offer solidarity for your experiences with the Plath family, but I can't help you when you burn every bridge and make everyone an enemy if they don't coddle you. Yes, July 11th, 2025, per receipts before you name drop my family for clout. No, honey, I'm not a liberal, she writes to Olivia Plath. You're the antithesis of everything you claim to be. It's quite comedic. I'm honest, but messy. All right, well, let's play now on my TikTok. So if you are going to the bathroom and you want to read for 20 minutes, at the Sarah Fraser Show on TikTok. Okay, love y'all. Full slate of shows for the rest of the week. Be sure to subscribe if you want all your pop culture and escapism fixed to TSFS everywhere you get your pods. Bye, everybody.